everyone. Welcome back to Hold On, I'm Calling My Mom. This is Paul.
Hi. I was giving you background noise. All right, start over.
Hello, everybody. Oh my gosh. Wait, it's 444.
Oh, I forgot to tell you, I picked up the phone today when I was sitting on the couch to see what time it was, and it was 444.
444. Shout out to Larissa, our numerologist who was on the podcast a couple weeks ago.
Yes.
Me doing the intro of Hold On, I'm Calling My Mom to 444 is very powerful. So let's start off with that.
Yes.
Let's take a minute to appreciate that. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for another episode of Hold On, I'm Calling My Mom. I am Paul, and give it up for Barb.
Hi. How are you?
I really try to make sure that I'm polite and respectful out in public. So, I'm all about holding a door open for someone.
Yes.
There's just something about, just keeping the door open for someone, just holding it. Like, nobody wants a door slammed in their face. I feel like something you're taught at a young age. It's like you hold the door open for the next person.
You say thank you. You say you're welcome.
Yes. I have a big beef with this. So everybody buckle in with me. This is some serious shit. First of all, you know me. I don't touch a door with my bare hands either.
No, you don't.
I never have. You know how many people, are touching that door handle? The thought of it makes my skin crawl. I will literally go under my shirt and pick it up with this. I will stop you from doing it.
Stop me from going in. Yes.
So I'm like, everyone's like, you're such a I'm like, no, I just don't want anybody to touch the door with their bare hands. So I'm like, I literally will always do that. So last night we were out, me and Jordy, and we want to go in somewhere. So I was opening up the door for him, and I went under and I did the same thing. Or I had a jacket, so I put it in my jacket pocket. I pulled it that way. Don't you know these two motherfuckers walked out while I opened up the door, didn't even bat an eye and look at me and acted like I held the door open for them. And I thought in my bitch.
And they didn't even say thank you or nothing?
Nothing. I was
just walk through
like the goddamn Victoria's Secret runway fashion show. Not a care in the world. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. Just straight up thought that I was opening up the door for them. Those are the moments where I really, oh my gosh, it takes so much work to contain myself, because I just think, how are you not that aware that someone just held a door open for you?
Because they're not. You know where they say the politest places?
Amsterdam?
No, for opening doors.
Oh.
I mean, here in New Jersey.
In New Jersey?
Wawa.
Huh?
Everybody in Wawa is so polite opening the door. You go to Wawa, you're either opening it for somebody, someone opens it for you, everybody says thank you. It's a thing.
Who made the statistic? You or
No, I have heard it.
From who?
I have heard it. Wawas are people are always holding the door and saying thank you, and men will hold it for the women, and it's very polite.
This sounds like some townie shit. I'm like, we need to fact check this, because where is this coming from?
It is. Let's take a survey.
And for people that are listening who don't even know what a Wawa is, it's like an upscale 7-Eleven is what I would.
A very upscale 7-Eleven.
Oh, they are polite and it's very, very highbrow.
Well, because 7-Eleven doesn't have the food and stuff like a Wawa does. They have a whole
7-Eleven has little taquitos and hot dogs.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Wawa's a little bit more than a 7-Eleven.
Yes, Wawa, I would say it's the next tier, in my opinion.
Yes.
They're expansive. They can give you gas. They got gas now.
Gas. They have pizza,
you're in a
burgers, chicken.
I'm not gonna lie. When I come home, first thing I do is
go Wawa breakfast. Right. What's the first thing you want? Right. As soon as you get off that plane before we come home, it's like routine.
No, I'm not busting on.
I know, Wawa. But I'm telling you, people say it. Wawa is a very polite of opening the door for people.
No, I'm more just challenging you, because you just went on a limb on a platform to say that you are saying statistically that it's the most kind and polite.
I said here in New Jersey.
No, now you're making now we're adding things along the way.
Did not roll the tape. I said here in New Jersey.
It's getting real convoluted now.
Yes, but yes, that's what I hear.
These people were not at the Wawa. These people were at the Grove. I've been having some issues with the Groves lately.
You've been having some issues with the Grove.
parking structures.
People not going down the steps, holding you up, not letting you by. The Grove is not good vibes.
So this is all in the power of control, right? It's me saying, I did something that was nice. I'm not going to let that affect me because I wanted to do it. I did it and it is what it is. And it's walking away. It kind of makes me feel like all those times that me and you have argued about driving in the car where you're like, I don't like your driving. And then you'll say, like, you do this and I do that. And I'm like stressed out in the car. And then when you're in there, it's like, you know how I always call you and I'm like, bitching about like the way somebody's driving or something that's on the road and it just drives me nuts. And I'm like, I want to hold these people accountable, but I'm like, I just can't. I got to let it go. It's like, it's not for me. It's on
Yes.
them, which really serves its purpose to our guests that we're going to have on today. Today we have on therapist Gina Zippo-Mazur. She is fellow New Jersey native. So, you know, she's going to have a lot of great stuff to talk about when it comes to the Jersey culture of road rage.
Jersey
And
in the house.
Jersey is representing today. So I can't wait to chat with her. But you know what stood out to me the whole time? That it was like this one instance that made me think about road rage, which is a very like crazy, weird story. So remember when I was younger and like you didn't know I was gay?
I remember. We'll go with that. Okay.
So remember there was like this
When
friend that
I didn't know. Okay.
So remember there was that one boy I went to school with. We were like friends and he always like did things that made me feel like he was like, I don't know. And I wasn't fully like confident as like a gay man now to be like, oh yeah, I am too. But like I'm
Yes.
sure that I knew that deep down inside. There was like one time when like we got drunk and we were at like someone's house and he like made a move on me and was like grabbing me up and he like
Ooh.
why'd you say it like that? And I remember, like, he did it and initiated it, and I was kinda, like, scared to act on it because I always thought, like, "Oh, well, if this person does it, then, like, you know, they could get away with doing it because they're, like, straight and with this clique where, like, I couldn't get away with it, right?" So, like, I kinda always like, I couldn't act upon it, but he, like, made multiple passes and, like, moves on me.
Okay.
So then there was one night, we were out with a bunch of our friends, and he came back to my house, and you were there, and you were literally in the room next to us. And I remember he like got on top of me and like
How is this tying into road rage? Because it sounds like a whole other episode.
and he was like he was like grabbing on me and like kissing on me and stuff. So, you know, you wake up the next day and you're like, oh shit, like, you know, we just gotta act like it didn't happen. And I remember I told him initially that I would go to church with him and his family.
Okay.
So I was like, "Oh my gosh, I have to commit to this now after what just happened to go to church and do that. Like this is who's making this up? Like this is kind of crazy. Now we're going to have to like get up, look each other in the eye, go to church. So we get in the car, we're like with his family, and I'll just never forget that his dad outside the church hit a car and got into a car accident outside of the church and started beating the guy up in the parking lot outside the church. A full-on fist fight in front of the church. You don't remember this story?
No.
Did you just, like, push this down and suppress it? Where did it go?
Probably. There's a lot of stories. There's a lot of stories.
So what I'm saying is that
You
I
never
had to
know who can become unhinged.
no, no. I mean, yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
But but
Bottom line.
but the fact that I literally was, like, exploring being gay with somebody who was I don't know what their sexual identity is to this day, so I'm not gonna speak on them, and then after this happens, you're then going to go to church with them and their family, and then their dad literally gets into a car accident outside the church and starts beating the shit out of somebody in front of the church. You seem like this is, like, normal behavior. Have I told you that many stories where this doesn't feel that crazy anymore? You don't remember it? Do you know the person?
Yes, I know the person.
Okay.
Yes, but I don't remember it. But
You need a blood transfusion. You're not processing this.
I think I'm just shocked. Yes, I probably suppressed it thinking, "What the hell?"
That was like the most traumatic road rage incident that I've ever seen because you just did something that you're like, "I don't know how this is gonna pan out," and that just
Right.
definitely crossed the line. Now I'm going to church, and I'm going to be like this, like, very like, I guess
Proper.
yes, and then I witnessed somebody getting beat up in a parking lot of a chur like, I'm just like,
Did you
"We're"
guys wind up going to church after all of that? Did he repent after that?
I
Like, how do
remember
you go into church after that?
I remember that the family was like, "He needs the Lord now more than ever," so they were like, "Let's make this work somehow." Like, he knew the guy that he hit, so I think they didn't press charges. So
Oh,
that has always, like, stuck inside me as, like, the worst traumatic road rage incident I've
that you were actually part of.
yeah, it still kinda scars me to this day because I literally watched somebody fly off the handle.
Ah, I mean, one for the records, that's for sure.
But you always said when I came out, you said you knew that night, like, something
Yeah,
because you said you heard, like what was it?
like a thump on the ground or something?
A thump on the ground.
Because I just knew when you were in the room and you had a guy up there, I just had this different feeling. It was almost like if you had a girl up there, I was like, close the door. I don't give a shit what you guys do. But when you had a guy up there, I got this like feeling like, oh, what are they doing up there?
I mean, you made it seem like I was running through guys and my and
No,
I'm like,
no, but just in general, when you had your guys, guy friends, even though they were your friends and you weren't even out yet, I just got a feeling like, oh,
so you were more
like,
stressed out that I had a boy in my room than I did a girl.
yeah.
For what
Because
reason?
to me, in my head, I was like, you're not doing anything with a girl, but you would do something with a guy. So I had to flip it. Like if a girl was up in the room, I'd be like, keep the door open. Come on, guys.
This
But
story is not tracking anymore. And you know the reason why you probably feel that way? Because there was this girl who I was friends with when I was younger who I dated, quote unquote. I'm using quotations with this. And I remember she was like so sexually like liberated that like it scared little like modest me that I was like, she came into my room and started using my lamppost as a stripper pole. And I remember I just sat there and was like, I have no fucking idea what is going on and I'm scared. So I'm like, "You're saying you're not worried about it." I'm like, "I actually was more scared with the girls that were acting like that. That was crazy."
it was just a weird intuition.
Well, then why did you act so surprised when I came out?
I don't think I acted surprise. I don't think I acted surprise.
You kinda did.
I
I
don't
feel
think
like the story is changing now because 'cause you're saying you were more
always.
you
I
knew
was
more
more
you said you knew
uneasy with you in the bedroom with the door shut with a guy than when you had girls over in the bedroom with the door shut.
I didn't even do anything with a guy until I was, like, 20
I
years
know,
old.
I know,
Well, I
but
mean, no, I
I
did
know. I'm just saying, like, it just gave me like more thoughts of what are they doing up there versus when you had girls up there. I'm like, oh, whatever.
we're taking MySpace pics and kikiing.
Yeah. Like it just wasn't. Yeah. I don't think I acted surprised when you told me. I didn't say, oh my God, are you sure?
No, but you made it seem like Brett was more, like, shocking to you than me, and I'm like, "Come on."
100%. Yeah. 100%.
100%, how? Like, what's the difference?
It just was a feeling. I just
Girl
knew
girl, his favorite
100%.
artist is Toplo, the fuck? He has
I
a
don't
Charlie
know.
XCX tattoo. You're telling me that's more blatantly
But
that you
that's
think
now. That wasn't then.
it was still giving then?
I mean, he would sit and
He
the
wore pants on his head and put a beret in it and walked around like it was his long like his hair was laid. You're kidding me, right? You're like one of those moms that's like, "My son can't be gay. He loves girls." And it's like the pink Power Ranger, Princess Jasmine, like
yes, you.
and
Exactly.
that was him
Not a
too.
shock.
And that was
Huh?
him too.
He was I
He
know,
did
but
the
it was
same
just
shit.
yeah, but like you would have I guess maybe because you had more flair.
I wore then an off the shoulder moment a couple times in
Yes.
my childhood. He wore pants on his head with a tied beret, and then I'm like, "Where's the difference here? We're splitting hairs, in my opinion." He would be like, "Mom, I'm gonna sing you a song, and it's Jessica Simpson's Angels." Like, you're kidding me, right?
You just had like a flair about you. Like
I'm not buying this shit.
I don't know.
You
I
could
don't
have
have an answer.
Brett's favorite song to sing on the fly was Jessica Simpson's Angels. Sweetie, that's a deep cut.
We went from road rage to you in a bed with a guy in high school. You're cutting from there out.
Why?
Because it makes no sense.
I'm living my truth, and I'm gonna say it. Let's circle back to where this whole episode was going. Road rage.
Road rage.
Road rage. We got a lot to talk about with that.
We really do.
This is one of those where I'm just like, things were coming up, and I just was reliving my
childhood.
Yeah. Let's welcome to the podcast and get back on track. Welcome, Gina. I'm happy that you're joining us. She's from New Jersey, and it's road rage. Like, that's the woman that we need on this podcast because she's gonna know her shit. Like,
There
she's
you
gonna
go.
get it. That's why I was like, listen, if you're gonna do an episode on road rage, it's gonna be like Jersey's in the motherfucking house right now.
Exactly. You can't live in New Jersey without having some of the road rage, whether you experience it or partake in it. It just comes with the territory, unfortunately.
Right? It's like ingrained in Jersey. Like, everybody even knows, like, road rage is synonymous with like Jersey drivers. Like, that's a thing.
Yeah. Yeah. We're hot-headed and, you got to get out of our way because we are not going to wait for you. That's for sure.
No, so then he goes to California where they're laid back. They cross lanes and don't use blinkers. They're on
But
their
isn't LA just as
smartphones.
bad?
Listen,
In a
that's what
different way. They don't have road rage. They just can't drive to a Jersey standard.
I've taken the New Jersey to LA. In LA, you spend so much time in your car that I'm like, oh my gosh, it's hard not to feel affected by it in some way. I'm like, Gina, I need you in my life right now, okay? Because I'm like, the only time me and my mom argue, we talked about it on the podcast, is when we are in the car with one another.
Mm-hmm.
As a grown adult who has been going through therapy for quite some years now and is getting a little bit more in tune with myself, I definitely struggle with anxiety, right? So to me, when I'm in a car, I'm not like, oh, look, like sightseeing. I'm not doing like a Sunday stroll.
Yeah.
I'm there for a purpose to go to point A to point B,
In
and
the
that's just,
shortest amount of time. In the shortest amount of time.
And that's the Jersey in you.
yeah, right, exactly. I'm cut from a certain cloth, but I do feel that when I'm in the driver's seat, it is very like focused on my emotion, like my emotional state. If I'm feeling anxious and I got to go somewhere and I see my GPS is going up, I feel that bubble up, which then I'm like, okay, that is why I feel like in this kind of fight or flight state, right? Where I have to get to where I'm going to go. I'm sure a lot of people, right, feel maybe somewhat similar to that, and that's why maybe I'm wondering if like a lot of the emotion of road rage kind of stems from this like anxiety ridden state.
Yeah. So, when you talk about some of the timing, what I think about is like high functioning anxiety, that like timing and being on time for things is like such a primary, focus or catalyst too for anxiety to start to bubble up. So you're trying to get somewhere, people are cutting you off, there's traffic, you're like starting to sweat, right? There's all these like these physical sensations
Oh
that we
yeah, the
go
sweat,
through.
the pits are already like, yeah, I'm like, I need a new shirt before I even get to where I'm going at that point. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
then
So
I'm yelling in the passenger seat and I'm like this.
trying to grab onto things that aren't there. Yeah.
Use my foot to stop the brake.
So dramatic, so dramatic.
Yeah. Yes, my mom does that too. So we have something in common. And if we look at some of that tension that builds, what do? We take that out on other people that are outside of this metal box that we're in because we're anonymous to them. And we get emboldened, I think, because we are anonymous and because we, oftentimes people are challenged with confrontation. So when you are behind the wheel, let's say, and you're, experiencing things on the road, you're feeling time pressure, whatever it is, having a bad day, you're more likely to lash out at other people you don't know because you don't give a shit about them, right? Like they're just out
Agree.
there, you don't know them, right? If you knew who it was, you would probably be a little bit more, relaxed and patient with what they're doing. But because we don't know them, this is what causes some of the aggression too. Is that like, well, we don't care. So why would we? We don't know them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've had an instance, like, trying to parallel park on a busy street in LA, and, like, I'm trying to move in, and I'm like, "This idiot in front of me is, like, taking up the road, like, what the fuck?" People are beeping at
Why
me.
are people beeping? And I said, "Are your blinkers on?" No, they see me stopped pulling in, and I'm like, "Well, if you put the blinkers on, that would probably eliminate maybe some of the anxiety you're getting from people beeping their horn at you."
That's so
But
funny.
the person who was stopped in front of me, I was, like, so tempted to just, like, look at them and give them, like, a mean mug or something, and when I did, their windows were tinted and they didn't see me, but it was actually somebody that I knew, and I was like, "Okay, I'm so happy I did not, like,
Yeah.
check a bitch because that would have looked really stupid on my part," right? Like, social media, like, when you get all this hate on social media and people, like, go in because they're hiding behind a secret
Yes,
identity, I kind of feel like people walk in that same world in terms of being behind a wheel. Like, you're just ready to, like,
absolutely.
cuss anybody out, you're ready to check them, and you don't give a shit because you're like, "I don't know the person."
Right.
Yeah, and this is what we would call like individuation, because this is like having like a separate experience. You're detached. You don't know them, so it makes it easier to be that text warrior. It makes it easier to like show up behind the screen and like tell somebody how you feel, or behind the wheel and flipping people off. And there's different types of road rage too that exist. So we're looking at like tailgating, brake checking, yelling out the window, throwing things out the window, just screaming, all of those things, gestures, like, all of it. And then there's been times where people get out of the car, and this is where, people become unhinged, and it's deadly. It could be deadly. And I think we're
Yeah.
seeing more of that as time goes on, as pressures are high. And people maybe needing to get to work because, we all need to get to work, and people really just feeling like the pressure of the world around them, and then they just one thing makes them break, and here they are at your
Yeah.
window.
For whatever reason, road rage is, like, skyrocketing statistically.
Yeah.
Like, 79% of US drivers have experienced road rage, and a third of them experience multiple incidents each month. Why is it statistically proven right now, like, in 2024, that, like, we are on the brink of, like, a huge rise in terms of road rage? Obviously, like, mental health, I mean, there's so many, factors, I'm sure.
Yeah, so definitely mental health being something everybody has. And I think sometimes it's easier to hide behind anger. So people can attach to anger because these are things that we're taught, right? Sadness, happiness, anger. And depending on the person's cultural background, socioeconomic status, their gender, all different types of things go into play when we're thinking about road rage and how this starts to present. And typically, there is two things that set people off. So it's the environment, right? So we know that there's stress in an environment, and then there is the temperament of the person. So, in the temperament of that person and having mental health challenges and maybe unresolved anger or misdirected anger, that is really what pulls it all together.
Yeah, when I'm like I said, I'm feeling stressed and you're behind a car and somebody does something to me, I take it on as like a personal slight. I'm like, that person, like I have sat with my emotions to know like how I'm perceiving it. And I'm perceiving it like they think they're better than me. They think they deserve to be ahead of me.
They're disrespecting you.
Yeah.
Uh-huh, and
Yeah.
it's such a, like a pride, like, it kinda is like a blow to your pride, I feel like a little bit,
Oh, yeah.
where I've recognized it and I've been like, "That is how I feel when it comes to something like that." I'm like, "No, no, no, you don't get to be in this line like everybody else and then try to cut me off, like, bitch, I'm not playing games," you know? Like, that's how
Right.
I feel it, you know?
I feel like it's a lot of misdirected anger too, like you said too. Yeah.
Yeah. So, the personalization is a huge one here for like, somebody cuts you off and you take that personally, right? And this is something that, trying to manage this better as we look at reframing that. That like we don't know that driver, they don't know you personally, and they didn't do this to attack you. And that's important to, kind of go along with that framework of CBT, which we call cognitive behavioral therapy, to try to like
You're look you're
restructure.
You're looking at somebody who's actively in it as we speak. So
There you go. And, we look at personalizing as a cognitive distortion. So, when we often take other people's behaviors, actions, words, and, apply it to, oh, we're going to personalize this and it's going to be all about me. That's where we start to see things in more of a negative light. So it causes some of these reactions to like honk your horn, hold it down, tailgate, to get revenge. And
yes.
that is the other piece of this is that like people look for revenge. And in that comes some deadly things sometimes. And just, a lot of catastrophe.
Well, I think we should first dive into differentiating, like you mentioned earlier, there are different signs and conditions of road rage. Would you be at liberty to say, like, what is the kind of spectrum of what road rage looks like?
So if we look at, the environment. So this is if we think about Jersey, because we're going to use Jersey, we have tight roads, we've got a lot of cars on the road. So there is the environment to which like, we're stuffed in there. There's lights, there's stop signs. We don't have, we have jug handles, right? And all of those things take
We have
time.
circles. We have circles.
Circles. There you go. You can't make a left at the light. You just
Right.
can't do it, right? You got to go around the circle, go around. And
Uh-huh.
that
Lots of
takes
circles.
time. And so if we're looking at, our patience level, right, of like knowing we need to get somewhere, this is a factor of like what can lead into like, that impatience, that anxiety. So now we're looking at, with the temperament of someone, if you have somebody who is naturally going to personalize things or they have a problem with anger already that's withstanding and long standing, this is going to be kind of the feel of, okay, how is this affecting the person behind the wheel and then others, right? And it's usually a disproportionate amount of anger that really causes some of that road rage. And this is intense feelings of anger and frustration that happen within moments. So we're also looking at that. It's like going from 0 to 100 feeling anger. And so what comes with that is some type of behavior.
Hmm.
And usually that's what feelings do, whether they're happiness, sadness, it comes with some type of behavior, something you do or something you don't do. So here it is with road rage. Something you do is use the things you can around you to get back at the person. So gestures again, tailgating, beeping the horn, stopping, going, whatever that looks like.
This made me kind of think I had a incident when I was younger. It was when I first got my license. And obviously being a lot younger, not in therapy, I was going to work and I was on my way to work and this car was just like on my ass the whole time. And I'm like, yo, it's a 50. I'm doing like 55. That's as far as I'm going, right? So then this person passes me and I'm like 17, mind you. I would never do this now in my right mind. But I was like, oh, hell no. So I'm like, I'm passing this motherfucker now because he just passed me. So then I did that. Oh, well, that just, you already know the match is already like burning and you just spilled like the gasoline and now you're not asking for it, but like,
Right,
you're
because
going to,
now it's a
Yep.
competition. Yeah.
yes. Yeah.
Mhm.
So then I get, of course, to the red light. Like you're like, like, you always want to get ahead. Like you don't want to be stuck at the light with them. So
Right.
now I'm in front of them. This guy got out of his car, which I was like, oh shit. And I think I don't know if my mom remembers, and I locked my doors, and he literally tried to open up my car door,
Wow.
and
Mhm.
I just was like, "Oh shit!" Like, and that's what kind of made me realize, like, people are unhinged. Like, people are going to do things like that. When
Yep.
you're in that moment, people just are not thinking rationally. You're getting
Yeah.
that receiving end of somebody's anger, completely washing away any common sense that they have.
And you hear these stories. I mean, I've had one today. I live in a farm town, so there's farm, like equipment and people driving slow and, small single lanes, again, environment, right? So I'm going slow behind them because it's a double yellow. Double yellow means you can't pass. And on these roads, it's like, swerving and shifting. And the guy behind me was like about to go. And I'm like, oh, hell no, right? So, so I gun it, which I probably shouldn't have done, just to like, not have
Yeah,
any
let them
Right,
know,
problems.
like,
because you're
back
not gonna
up.
pass me. Right,
Yeah, back up.
you're not gonna get one over on me. is
Yeah.
more,
Exactly. And these are like some of the things like you feel like that in rage, right? And then you
Mhm.
look at this jerk, like, don't you know how to drive? Don't you know what the double lines mean? And here I am going over them. So two wrongs didn't make a right here. But you feel that adrenaline rush. And this is the other thing, right? The adrenaline also makes us do something. Like I could
Mhm.
have just been like, okay, you know what? I'm going to stay behind this farm vehicle that's going 15 miles an hour and just take it easy and enjoy the views. But for some reason, when somebody also is pressuring you, you feel that need to act.
Yeah.
And I think that's what drives us literally into some of these problems.
because it's an instinct, right? Like just, oh, it's almost like a fight or flight kind of thing.
It's like
Exactly.
survival.
Yeah.
Yep. It's like hit the gas or we're hitting the brake. And my usually my motto is like let's hit the gas pedal on some things like fear, let that be a gas pedal. But in these cases, we need to take a step back. And that's the hardest part about, how to control yourself when you're in these moments and not trying to top someone, right? Be in competition or, trying to seek that revenge or like, hey, I could drive too, like some of the tough guy stuff, which
Right. So what could be some techniques in that moment?
but when we talk about some coping skills, there's radical acceptance that we often use to look at like how do we accept that while we are driving, there are going to be good drivers and there are going to be bad drivers. And also, how do we figure about our own selves? I fit in those categories at one time or another. And sometimes I'm a bad driver and don't mean to be.
Yeah.
And I also have to take a step back and remind myself of that perspective. But really, the radical acceptance is like there are good drivers and there are bad drivers. And driving on the road today, it's tough. And you have to, think that, okay, I accept that there's going to be people on the road that are not going to be well because they have access. They have access to driving, they have access to cars. And, this is where the perspective changes on what can I do to be a safe driver and really thinking about, how do I control my own emotions and mood?
Yeah.
And this goes into like every single ride.
Mhm.
And this is what I tell my clients. I had a client that really struggled with like, losing his shit on the road all the time. And so, he'd be like, I'd be driving, my windows down and like holding on and like screaming and, and it was a problem for him. Like he's like, I don't want to be this person. So
Sounds very Jersey though.
yeah, absolutely. So it's
I
like,
know, but look, he wanted to see, I'm on the other part. I'm like, "Ah, but he wants to change." Like, he's, like,
yes,
saying that. Yeah.
willingness. And that's like a big part of this is like how much of you is willing to change some of these behaviors and having that conscious effort. And also for you telling me like, hey, I'm in therapy and I don't want to be this person anymore. It's not cute, right? Is a big shift in how we kind of curb this. So going into rides, it's like finding, trying to fix the environment that you can control. That looks like, what's on your radio? If we're blasting like death metal, maybe that makes us more angry. My husband probably wouldn't tell me that, but for me, that puts me in a mood. Like if I'm listening to something like really hard, I'm like, okay, it's just not going to be a good driving experience. So,
Right,
what do we shift to? Maybe we go to R&B, maybe we do something calming, maybe it's spa tunes, who knows, whatever
right.
works for you, right? Whatever floats your boat. But then there's probably, even podcasts and things that we can really like get ourselves occupied with and distracted by that makes us kind of keep, focused on something else that's not everybody else around us driving, as
Yeah.
much as possible. So there's that. And also, when we look at some of the physical aspects of how we feel, like my client saying, I'm like gripping the steering wheel so tight. In one way, you want to think that that's helpful, but sometimes it's not because you're just like stressing yourself in a different way.
Mhm.
So, do we have the air on? Is that, part of like staying cool in summer where that helps us not feel as aggravated and agitated on the road? Do we have like water with us, things that we can eat or drink, even though that's probably not recommended by some people in the safety aspect? This is something that like can help calm us. What kind of scent do we have in our car that helps kind of relax and keep us calming? So those are just some things that I would say to take a look at and to be thinking about, and instead of like gripping the wheel, it's like maybe looking at opposite, instead of doing that, we do the opposite. Maybe we just like hold it lightly, as lightly as we possibly can, or we move a hand to being on the shifter and just like taking a step back and releasing some of that pressure.
You don't have the control over what somebody else is going to do. You have control over yourself. I know it sounds so easy. I mean, you're a therapist. My mom, I've bitched to about this millions of times. It is way easier said than done,
Yeah.
especially when you're in the moment and you're feeling off of emotions.
Mhm.
But I mean, I think it really does track. Like, I can only say, okay, I'm not going to act like an irate, crazy bitch unless somebody does something to me. That's on them. But I'm like wiping my hands clean with it and I'm not a part of it. Because I even think about moments when people are driving. The holidays are coming up. The worst place is when you're going to the mall or you're going to a shopping center and people are fighting for those spots. You just feel
Yeah.
this like sudden like overwhelmingness where you're like, I gotta be on guard, I gotta be ready, I gotta do this. You, I guess, essentially could apply the same type of narrative when it comes to like parking situations and stuff too, right?
Yeah, I mean, and that's where parking lots are where accidents happen because people aren't paying attention and they're trying to rush into spots and all of those things. And, it's like we have to take a step back. And even like maybe if we shift the perspective of, hey, if that person in the other car is my mom or is somebody that I know and care about, what would be different about your behavior? How might you be able to be a little bit more patient and caring about what is going on for that person?
Right.
And I think that's so important to kind of like just take that step to really say, all right, I'm going to make a conscious effort to be a little bit more kinder on the road. And everybody can do that. We can think about that in so many different ways and how to actually apply it. So if there's fighting for a spot, is it really that bad to park as far away at the mall, to go all the
Right.
way in? I mean, get your steps
Right.
in.
I feel if they're gonna fight me for that and that means that much to them, I'm like, go for it.
Yeah.
It's go ahead.
And
Yeah.
it's better than being assaulted. I mean, at the
Yeah.
end of the day,
Yeah, I
Right.
mean,
it's true.
honestly.
Yeah.
It's true.
And that's what I
Um,
say nowadays, like the violence and stuff of people going from 0 to 100, like you said, you can't take that chance over something so stupid. I think
Well,
if everybody just has a little bit of kindness, maybe that would be better, right?
we could only hope. We could only hope.
Barb's words of wisdom today. But I get what she's saying because it's hard not to take it personal where you're like, oh my gosh, they could have just hit me,
Yeah.
or they could have just hurt me, or they could have just put my life on the line.
Yeah.
But I think to your point is like knowing that when you're operating a vehicle, like don't take it personally because this person doesn't know that like in this car it's Paul Royston or it's Gina or it's Barb, it's
Yeah.
just you're a car. You're just out there on the street with them. So I think like knowing that moving forward, it's like they're not out to get you. They're just stupid and they don't know what they're doing.
Exactly. Putting them into a box, right? And
Yeah.
and that's okay. If that helps us cope and kind of adopt like, all right, it's not a personal attack, then that's all right.
You have more power of not losing your cool. That's what I'm trying to actively work on as an adult driving,
Yeah.
being out in the world.
I can't wait to experience that next time we're in the car together.
Oh, this will be a test, right? Of your emotional regulation.
I'll get
skills
back
that
to
we're
you,
learning.
Gina, and let you know.
Keep you posted.
Don't let Barb's cute face fool you because she's got a vendetta with old people on the road, okay?
Oh, Barb, tell us.
She has a code name for old people driving and she'll be like, she calls them like poppies. Like we set up this like as a grandpappy, I guess that's where it
Yeah.
stemmed from. But like there has been urgent matters where we've maybe had to like fly home to get to the bathroom and like someone got in the middle of the road and like they really are like messing with Barb's like urgency of making sure she doesn't shit her pants. Like, there's things that could happen.
You're getting in my way. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. But so Barb she's trying to play cute, but like she's got beef with old people on the road.
Don't say that. It's a cute little nickname. I just call them puppies. Like, come on, puppies. Barb needs to get home.
Yes. Gotta pee. And you know what? That's the other thing. Like having an urgency to go to the bathroom and like driving in like slower conditions is like, like that'll send anybody off.
How many
Yeah.
times have you been in like that situation? I mean, I know as being
Too
a
many.
passenger to my mom's where she's white knuckled on her way home and has been like, if
I
I'm
have
going,
I have stomach issues, okay?
IBS.
yeah. I mean, all the girlies have IBS. Let's be real.
So,
Yes.
when you need to get home, you need to get home. They have had some fast rides home.
Only hot girls have IBS.
There you go.
You
Packing
are
everybody
going to
up.
hold on for dear life, and
Yes.
I'm getting home.
Right. It's like you literally leave that restaurant and you're like, all right, well, anybody in my way has got to get out.
Poppies needs to move over.
Yeah. So we kind of
Well,
all have different reasons that make us tick. Like Barb's is IBS. Mine would be just like I'm, Lexapro'd out with my anxiety. And, we're all kind of struggling in our own internal narrative. But
yeah,
if we
exactly.
create space like what you're saying, like anybody who's listening, think about poor Barb. She just got done going through the McDonald's drive-through and she needs to get home, right? Like, maybe I had a bad day and I'm having this internal narrative. Like
Absolutely.
just creating that nice space for somebody and thinking, I'll be
Right.
there one day. And I
And
just
Gina's trying to save the guy behind her because you're not supposed to pass on double lines.
No.
exactly.
It's just like we need to be kinder. We need to think about others. Kindness matters. It really does. So
Really does.
I think it is powerful to take away of just being like, hey, everybody doesn't think like you, but that's what makes you you. So it's like, do you want to be that person that you despise,
Right.
or do you want to be the example of the person that you are wanting to be? I'm trying
Right.
to take that route. I'm not saying I always succeed, but it's a work in progress.
And let them do them and you do you.
Period, Barb. Okay. That really is the Jersey coming out of her. You do you. What was it?
I said, let them do them and you do you.
exactly.
The Jerseyest mother I've ever heard right there.
There you go.
Gina, I want people to check you out. I mean, you have such great
Thanks.
nuggets on your social media, and aside from road rage, you definitely cover a lot of topics. Let the people know where they can check you out on TikTok, Instagram, your website.
Thank you. So you can find me on Instagram at Feeling Good with Gina. And also my website is gzmtherapy.com. And on TikTok as well, Feeling Good with Gina. And I put try to make some videos that are, insightful that hopefully people can take away things from. And, I do practice in New Jersey. So if you have any interest in working on your road rage or on other things, just reach out.
I'm gonna
What
think
else?
of Gina just feeling good on my shoulder when I'm driving from now on.
Yes.
Yay!
And people will say that. They'll say, "Your voice came to me," and I'll be like, "Oh,
No,
well,
yeah,
that's good."
I really wanted to do this because I was like, it's something that I really want to work on. It's something that I think a lot of people, I'm sure, can want to work on, and I think is important. So thank you for coming on.
Thank you, fellow Jerseyan.
Yes, you're so welcome. This was fun. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye. Yes, Jersey Queen, saving us road rage one incident at a time.
Yes, I know.
She was great. I loved
It
having
was
her on.
great. Yeah. It was just insightful. And I guess you just don't think about it in the moment, you don't think about what's that other person going through because it is all about you. That person did that to you. So your instinct is to respond.
Yeah, well, I kind of feel like it's hypocritical because you're like, oh, they did this to me. But
Yeah.
then it's like, well, why do I feel like I'm entitled to not have
Yes. You do when you become older. I feel like driving, and I know what your response is to this. So you become overly cautious when you get a little older. I feel sometimes I'm like that. I can't get out of this lane. I'm staying behind this slow car.
girl, we know that's where the fights come from. It's literally the road will be clear. There's one big ass Mack truck on the highway and you want to be behind the Mack truck. I'm like, why? Why are we behind this
Right.
Mack truck?
I feel like the older you get, sometimes you're overly cautious and you're just like, I'm just going to stay right here in my lane.
That's why I'm like, girl, you're going to be in for a rude awakening. We're driving on these 5-lane highways in California. Shit.
No, because now here 295 and all of them are 5-lane highways now.
People don't know what the fuck 295 is. Yeah, no, I
The
think
bottom line is just take a little breath. I cut you off again. Because when it's in my head, I have to say.
You got to pump the brakes, literally and figuratively.
Oh, good one. But bump.
But you're what?
I said, but bump.
Oh, I didn't. That didn't sound like it.
Bump because you were like, pump the brakes.
Got it. That wasn't what it was giving, but I appreciate the effort on that. Some people might not feel this at all. I feel very anxious in cars. I like having the control. I like being in control of driving. I'm
I
popping them
know.
damn eyeballs out. You roll them like that. Yeah, I think there's definitely some tips that we can take from Gina
Absolutely.
and store them in our back pocket and definitely use them for the future on these crazy streets we live on in LA.
I know. I can't wait to experience my next car ride.
You're just not allowed in my car anymore. That's the rule. Well, everyone, I hope that you're walking away a safe, kind, empathetic, caring driver on these streets. It's crazy out there.
Yeah.
We got to
On
look
these
out for each other.
on these crazy streets out here.
It really is. So with that being said, everybody, thank you for joining us for another week of Hold On, I'm Calling My Mom podcast. We love y'all for supporting, listening, showing up every week. So as always, please make sure you like our Instagram account, TikTok account, Facebook account at Hold On, I'm Calling My Mom. Make sure you're subscribing to us on YouTube at Hold On, I'm Calling My Mom. Make sure you are subscribed and liked our podcast on Apple and Spotify. Leave a review, means a lot. Just any little tidbit of positivity towards what we're doing is always greatly appreciated. And we just
We love
appreciate you guys showing up every week. So thank you for listening. And Barb,
I'm gonna hang up now. Bye.
call you later. Love you.
Call you later. Bye. Love you.